Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us in today's presentation. We hope you are doing well and staying safe. My name is Anna Ramos, and I work for UCLA's Undergraduate Admissions Office. I work closely with veteran students, so I am really happy to be here today. And I'm actually joined with my colleague, Lila, in today's presentation. So I'll go ahead and give her a brief moment to introduce herself.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lila Mendoza, and like Anna, I also work in the Office of Undergraduate Admission, and I'm also one of the liaisons for our veteran student population. We're excited to share all this information with you, and we hope you find it useful. I'll give it back to Anna now.
Thank you. As a land-grant institution, UCLA acknowledges the Gabrielino Tonga peoples as the traditional land caretakers of the Tobangar, which includes the Los Angeles Basin and Southern Channel Islands. So here is a brief overview of what we'll be going over today's presentation. We will be going over the admissions requirements, major choice. We'll talk a little bit about military credit evaluation and the holistic review process, as well as how you can translate your military experience into the UC application. So if you're a veteran applying to UCLA, we thank you for your service and we wish you success as you continue your education. We're proud to count many thousands of veterans among our students. UCLA believes that veterans and active duty personnel add to the richness of the campus culture and the student experience. Undergraduate veterans receive grants, scholarships, in addition to VA education benefits, for which many student veterans are eligible. Most undergraduate veterans at UC campuses actually start at a California community college, so we're hoping that some of the information that we go over today might be helpful for your transfer journey. And speaking of transfer, we should note that this information applies to you no matter where you are on your transfer journey. For some, this may look like 2 years. For some, this looks like 10. We like to say that there isn't a typical transfer student, and we welcome students from all backgrounds, whether you're a returning student, a student with family, responsibilities, international student, or a military veteran. So moving on to UCLA's admissions requirements, you will need to meet the following requirements to be eligible for admission, starting with the minimum of 60 semester or 90 quarter transferable units. And we also look for the 7-course pattern, which includes 2 transferable English courses, 1 transferable math course, and 4 transferable courses in 2 different subject areas. We recommend taking 1 English and math as soon as possible, preferably your first or second semester, but at least before the fall term before you transfer. This is to ensure that you'll have these classes because you can risk an ineligibility if you put these off, if you put off these requirements until the very end, and may have like a schedule conflict or like an emergency that can prevent you from taking the classes that you need. So we recommend taking it as soon as possible and not putting it off until the last minute. Okay. But beyond the minimum requirements, each UC campus will have what are known as selection factors, or additional requirements that will improve your applications competitively. For UCLA, some of these selection factors are the major preparation and strong academics. We strongly recommend having a minimum GPA of a 3.2. And the GPA may actually vary depending on the major that you are pursuing, which we will discuss as we move along in the presentation. About the major preparation, keep in mind that as a transfer student, you are admitted by your major. So this is why we recommend you to complete as many major preparation courses by the end of spring before transfer. For some majors, such as business economics, psychology, and communications, we'll recommend students to complete their major prep even earlier, like by the end of fall before they transfer. So you can actually learn more about our major prep and then the required courses for your intended major by viewing our transfer admissions guide. You can scan the QR code that you find on this slide or go to this website, admission.ucla.edu/transfer. If you are coming from a California community college, you can actually use this website called assist.org. And that's also another way you can find out about your major preparation requirements. Upon reading the assist.org reports, please be sure to read the entire assist agreements in full, checking the bolded sections or requirements that are strongly recommended. So also check for which classes are required and which are only recommended. Understanding and fulfilling these transfer agreements are key. You can always consult with your UCLA transfer admissions liaisons, such as Lila and myself, or a community college counselor to help better understand assist.org and or your major requirements. Also, just a quick note that undeclared is not an option for transfer students. You must complete the major preparation and apply to a specific major. In terms of our timeline, UCLA is open to new students in most undergraduate programs for the fall quarter only. The application opens up August 1st, and the regular application filing period is going to be from October 1st till November 30th. We start releasing admissions decisions in late April, and the deadline for admitted transfer students to submit their statement of intent to register will be June 1st. It is important to note that students also must submit a transfer academic update by January 31st. They can do so by, they'll receive more information via email regarding the update, but we would need at least one update by January 31st. Okay. So here at UCLA, we offer over 125 majors, yet nearly 70% of our transfer students actually apply to the same 7 UCLA college majors, and including some of our specialty schools. You can see that the number of applications to the most applied to majors on this slide. However, as I said before, UCLA has over 125 majors. Students may only apply to the majors that I mentioned in the previous slide because they're maybe the most easily recognizable or popular majors, so to speak. But if you scan this QR code, you can actually browse the list of majors that we offer at UCLA, and you may even find that we have maybe around 10 majors that study similar fields, develop the same skill sets, and help you prepare for same careers and future plans. So definitely check out the website to read about the majors, their courses, and what kind of jobs students pursue after graduating. Oftentimes, the best way to figure out what major works for you is to read about what you'll study in a given major, what the professors and the students do. Maybe even look into like what research and career opportunities can be found within that major while you're here at UCLA. So in the next few slides, I'm going to list some of the few interconnected majors for some of our most applied to majors. I want to be clear, however, I'm not telling you to choose one major over the other. I'm only listing some of these options so that you can hear about the different opportunities here at UCLA. As you'll see, so many majors can lead to the same career path and can help you achieve the same goals. Keep an open mind as we take a look at everything that UCLA has to offer. So here we are going to discuss common career paths and what majors can help you achieve the same goals. There isn't one that is better than the other. There are many routes that lead to the same destination. So first, we'll take a look at the broad umbrella of psychological research and or counseling. This career goal is oftentimes for students who want to research how the human mind interconnects with behavior, for students who want to be therapists, counselors, or psychiatrists, or for students who want to understand child development. But these are only to name some of few careers. Many of our majors can lead to this goal, and some may even surprise you. So for example, for those students who are interested in brain research and psychiatry, chemistry or cognitive science can be a great pick. These majors study the biological makeup and processes that are applicable to the brain physiology. If you're interested in counseling or speech pathology, linguistics and psychology is an interesting major that studies the connection between the mind, language, and meaning. So for pre-health or medical school, you could consider a major in applied math, which is a mathematics major that focuses on integrating with the sciences. We also offer a Bachelor's of Science in Anthropology, which studies human evolution and physiology. Or you could even look into computational and systems biology, which combines biology with mathematical and computer modeling. These majors can give you the sufficient background in biology to do lab work, research, or prepare for medical school just as well. In addition, note that pre-health preparation doesn't stop at the sciences. Students are admitted to medical school every year from a variety of different disciplines, including the social sciences, humanities, and physical sciences. What's more important than your major is completing the required coursework for medical school admission, and what you do outside of the class, and who you are, and what perspective you bring to the table. Okay. In the field of media, marketing, and journalism, students often think of the communication major. However, there are countless more majors that interconnect with media studies, information, and how we spread it. Any major that hones in with communicative skills and language is suitable. Some examples include the linguistics or linguistics and English majors, which study the language structure and meaning. Comparative literature is also another choice, which helps draw a connection between text and think about the big picture in writing. Even our foreign language majors, such as Spanish, Chinese, French, and etc., can be excellent choices, especially if you're interested in a certain culture's media or translation. So for those interested in pursuing careers in business and finance and economics, you may be wondering why a math major or cultural studies major like Asian or Latin American studies are included. For many UCLA majors that focuses on cultural or geographic studies, they also include courses on economics and political structures of those regions. If you're considering international business, then these majors can also prepare you and give you a good economic background. And again, applied math or other mathematics major like statistics or data science are great majors that study how mathematics can be used across disciplines, including the world of business and finance. Okay. So regarding law school, students almost always think that that if you want to go to law school, then you should study political science. However, law school doesn't only value your knowledge of institutions and policies. Law schools are really looking for your ability to think critically. They can think critically, reason logically, and write clearly. As such, any major that develops your reasoning and writing skills, such as philosophy or history, will help you prepare for law school admission. In addition, UCLA offers many majors that examine specific sectors of public life, such as our labor studies major. If you're interested in corporate law or advocacy, this major and more are definitely worth researching. And finally, many students coming to UCLA just want to make a difference, improve their communities, and work towards equal access in education and society via social work, activism, and education. Students with these passions often gravitate towards sociology, but there are many majors that look into specific spheres of society or examine it through a different lens, such as gender studies, ethnic and cultural studies, or majors like Chicano studies, or even anthropology. So to sum it all up, it's worth considering majors beyond the most applied to, as they can prepare you for similar fields or even help you specialize and suit your interests more. Like I said, UCLA offers over 125 majors, and if you want to make the most of your time here, it's worth doing the research and finding a major that really connects with you. And looking beyond the majors, what you're doing outside of the classroom to prepare for your future is just as important. So if you're concerned about whether or not a certain major will help you succeed, remember that you can pair any majors with minors, extracurriculars, internships, or jobs that can help you reach your goal. And another important thing to note when choosing your major, you should not apply to one major with the hope of changing it to another. For psychology, economics, business economics, communication, and all life science majors, you cannot change into the major after admission. For all other majors, we cannot guarantee transfer students to switch majors after admission. So hopefully that just gives you an idea of what we offer here at UCLA. So I'm going to go ahead and actually transition it over to my colleague Lila, and she will be talking about our specialty schools.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anna. So with that, we'll go ahead and talk a little bit about the specialty schools that we have here at UCLA. So on this next slide, we'll see the specialty schools that we have. So Anna mentioned earlier that we offer over 125 majors. So while the majority of those majors are housed within the UCLA College of Letters and Science, there are a handful that are housed within what we call our specialty schools. In red, you'll notice that there's a GPA range. So while some of them may also have a 3.2 GPA requirement, others might be higher, others might be lower. So it's important that you make note of that if the major that you're considering is within one of those specialty schools. Another thing to mention that's worth noting is the supplemental application. So there are certain majors that require what's called a supplemental application. You can really think of this as a part 2. So in addition to the UC application that you'll be submitting, there's also a second part. What this supplemental application consists of varies from one school to the other. It could be an audition, a portfolio, an additional essay. Maybe there's some letters of recommendation that are required. So it differs from one school to the other, but that's why it's really important that you go ahead and do your research and that you check what those deadlines are. Should you not complete that that supplemental application, your application is technically incomplete. So we don't want that for you. Another thing to note is that on the right-hand side, there are 2 relatively new majors. There's education and public affairs. Those, although housed in specialty schools, will be listed under the UCLA College within the UC application. Now you may be wondering, well, what programs could I take advantage of that might help me as I'm applying to UCLA? One of them is the UCLA Transfer Alliance Program, otherwise known as TAP. And this could be known as the honors program or the scholars program at your community college. It's really important to know that this is at participating California community colleges. So not every community college here in the state participates in this program. If you want to know whether yours does or does not, you'd have to check in with the director at your school, or you could check out our website. What are the benefits? Why should you consider this? So if your school does have TAP as an option, you get to have priority consideration in your application. So while we don't offer any admission guarantees for any student population, this is the next best thing. So you get priority consideration, and you also are eligible to be reviewed for an alternate major, meaning that if you're not admitted under your first choice major, but you selected an alternate major, you could be admitted under that. Now, this is only specific to this population. So while everybody can technically list an alternate major on their application, we only review it for those that are TAP certified. And by TAP certified, we mean that you've completed a certain set of requirements that are dictated by your California community college. So typically it's a certain number of units that you take or some type of research project. So again, if you want to know what those requirements look like, what that consists of, you would have to go to your home school. One last thing to keep in mind is that for TAP, you would need to complete your major prep for the alternate major as well. And now we can move on to the next slide. So you may be wondering, what about my military credit? How is that evaluated? How is that looked at within the whole process? So our military students are able to benefit from a service that we call pre-evaluation. So So this means that you can actually send us a copy of your transcripts from any colleges or universities you've attended, any military credit that you have, so that it could be reviewed by either Anna or myself, and we can determine how many units you have that can count towards any of the requirements that we ask of you. So it's really great. We encourage you to take advantage of this service. One thing to keep in mind is that for joint service transcripts or GST, there is limited credit that can be awarded. Typically, it's for leadership courses or for any type of activity that you have. And it's also limited to a certain number of units. While we do award some units for the GST, it's not something that you would go ahead and count on to fulfill your requirements for the purposes of admission. So any credit that is awarded would typically happen after you've already matriculated at UCLA, and then the credit would be awarded. So you still have to meet all of our requirements, the 60 units, the 7-course pattern, and all of your major prep courses outside of this transcript, outside of this coursework. And finally, it's important to know that no credit is awarded for CLEP or the Dante's exam. So now that we have an understanding of what UCLA offers, let's take a look at how you can best strengthen your application. We look at a variety of factors when we're considering you as an applicant. We want to see who you are as a student, but also we want to see who you are outside of the classroom. So let's discuss some of those factors that we look at. The 3 main factors that we look at are your academic accomplishments, your personal achievements, and your personal insight questions. All of these make up what we call our holistic review process. So we're going to view a breakdown of each of these. So for the academic accomplishments, it's essentially everything that Anna's covered up until this point. So to recap, we want to make sure that you have your 60 semester and 90 quarter UC transferable units. That's the key word there, UC transferable. That you've completed your 7-course pattern, which includes 2 English courses, a math course, and 4 transferable college classes in at least 2 different subject areas. And also making sure that you've completed your major preparatory coursework, as well as having that GPA that we're looking for. Now, for personal achievements and activities, this can really help your application stand out, and it can help an admissions officer understand who you are. So if all other academic factors are equal, this section can really help differentiate you as an applicant. However, we're not really looking for any traditional achievements, such as being president of 3 clubs or having an internship. We look for any activity or achievements that demonstrate the qualities that are listed on the left-hand side of this slide. So really thinking about your leadership, your employment, right? What skills have you gained? Especially for those of you who have served in the military, you've typically gained a lot of leadership experience through the things that you've been asked to do. You've learned how to work as a team. You've learned discipline, time management, right? So this is an area where you can go ahead and highlight some of those things. You want to make sure that you do list your employment within the military and that you are specific about the roles that you had, the obligations and responsibilities, and don't be shy, right? This is the time to toot your own horn. This is not the time to be coy. And finally, for the personal insight question, it's important that you know that UCLA values the differences in lived experiences from our transfer applicants. So the PIQs are your chance to really share your story. Although we understand that this can be sometimes the most challenging part of the application, it's also the most empowering. This is where you can use your voice to tell your story the way that you want it to be shared. Really what we want you to know is how your experiences have shaped you, how they've shaped your achievements, how those hardships, how you've overcome them, and how they've shaped your educational trajectory. So not just focusing on your past, but how it all relates back to your current situation, so your present and any future goals that you have. So in total, you'll be asked to answer 4 questions. 1 is required of all of our transfer students, and then there are 3 additional prompts. You have 7 options to choose from. So which of the 7 you choose doesn't play a role. We don't favor one over the other. It doesn't matter if you've heard along the grapevine that we do have a preferred one. We don't. We really want you to choose the questions that are going to highlight your experiences the best. And that's going to differ from one applicant to the other. So for our military students, we're really interested in knowing how your military service has, again, played a role in your educational trajectory, right? So How has it been instrumental in developing your educational plans? Perhaps because of the work that you were doing in the military, you are now inspired to continue to pursue that field, or while being there, you discovered something new, and that's the field that you are now interested in pursuing. Whatever it may be, this is again an opportunity for you to share that with us. The more context you can provide, the better. You'll hear me say that word a lot: context, context, context. And on to the next slide, we will see how is your military service considered in the grand scheme of things, right? So when we talk about holistic review, comprehensive review, it means that we're looking beyond the academic. So we also consider your personal information and experiences. So again, getting that contextual information that'll let us know more about you as an applicant. And this includes your military service. So we want to know how your military service has been influential and the skills that you've gained. So I mentioned this earlier, you've gained leadership skills more likely than not. You've had to work within your platoon, maybe even held a leadership position, an official title. Even if you didn't, though, there are instances where maybe you had to stand up, step up to the plate and take on a role that maybe wasn't yours, but you still did it. You fulfilled that role, that obligation. You've certainly gained a number of transferable skills, and you've participated in a number of trainings. So this is an opportunity for you to highlight all of that, and it could let us as admission officers know how those skills can be used to help support you or help you navigate your educational journey once you're at an institution like UCLA. And finally, campus resources. So we also want you to know that it's not just about, what can you offer us, but what can we offer you if you decide to come to our institution. Just so you know, should you come to UCLA as a military student, you benefit from priority registration for classes. You also get priority housing placement on campus. Now we're able to offer guaranteed housing for all of our transfer students. And within that, you get priority for the placement choice, which is really great. We have different types of housing options. So we have family housing. We have some based on certain themes. We call those living learning communities. So there are a number of different options that you can choose from. We also have our Veterans Resource Center. So there are a number of resources and programs and communities that you can get in touch with as a student here at UCLA that will help support you and will help you navigate, transitioning back to civilian life and to a student here at our university. So if you're interested in learning more about some of those resources and way more than I could mention in this presentation, you would go ahead and scan that QR code that you see listed on the screen. And with that, we just want to thank you. We want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to all of this information. We hope you found it beneficial. Should you have any questions, you can certainly reach out to Anna or myself directly. Or if you'd like to be connected with a particular resource or have more broad questions, you can also email our undergraduate admissions account at veteraninfo@admission.ucla.edu. And we thank you so much for your time.